Hi guys, and welcome to this tutorial. In this tutorial, we'll be implementing the Zoom SDK into our Xamarin Forms application. We'll be specifically using the platform-specific iOS and Android Zoom SDK. So you just want to go ahead and create a blank project. I've just called mine Sample Zoom for now. So once this is loaded, the first thing that we want to do is install the Zoom SDK for Android. So we'll concentrate on Android for now, and the second part of the tutorial we will look at the iOS platform specific stuff. So open up the NuGet installer, and the package that we're searching for is called Xamarin.android.zoom. Yep, so it's just this package here. So this package is currently on version 1 at the moment. Okay, so there's an error here. You can't install a package if your project is targeting Android 9. So we need to go into the build settings of the Android project and change the target source to Android 10 or above. So we go ahead and try and install that again. This should successfully install. Great, so that's been installed. So we want to head into our main page first, and we're just going to implement some really basic UI just so we can get the functionality of joining a Zoom meeting working. So you want to just get rid of this label first, and then the first element that we're going to create is an entry, and this entry is going to allow the user to input a meeting ID, because the meeting ID is needed for the user to be able to connect through the Zoom SDK into the meeting. And we're going to bind this entry just to our meeting ID property, and we'll create this later on in the view model. The second UI element we're going to create is a button, and this is just going to allow the user to click, and then it's going to fire off all of our Zoom logic so we can join the meeting. And we're just going to create a command, and we're going to bind this to our join meeting command, which we will create a bit later as well in the view model. So we just want to go ahead and create the view model for that page. So we're just going to create a new file, an empty class, and we're going to call it main page view model. So the first property we're going to include is the command for the join meeting. So that's just of object I command. We're going to call it join meeting command like we declared in the XAML. The second property that we're going to create is a public string, and that will just hold our meeting ID value. So this meeting ID is bound to the entry in the XAML. And we just need to include the using system.windows.input. So the next thing we need to do is create the interface for our Zoom service. So we're just going to create an empty interface and call it iZoom service. So the first function that we're going to declare in this service is of a type bool, and it's just a isInitialized function. The second function is just a void, and we're going to call that init zoom lib, and it's going to take two parameters of strings, the first being the app key and the second being the app secret, and we will get these values soon from the Zoom website. And the third function that we're going to create is another void, and that's just going to be join meeting, and that's also going to take two parameters, one being the meeting ID and the second being the display name. So we're going to jump back into the main page view model, and we're just going to declare that Zoom service that we've just created. So we're going to declare here iZoom service and just call that Zoom service. And just include the using statement for it. And then we're going to set the Zoom service to be a dependency service. And what this will allow us to do is when we call our functions in the Xamarin Forms share project, this will be able to drill down into the platform specific application and call the necessary functions for that platform. So now that we've created our Zoom service, the first thing we want to do is call the initialize function. So to do that, we do Zoom service dot init zoom lib. So we need to get our app key and app secret now. So you want to open the browser, and the website that we want to go to is the Zoom Marketplace. So first thing, you want to sign in, and if you haven't created an account already, then go ahead and create an account. So click the Develop tab, and then you want to click Build App. And then you want to just scroll down a little bit and click the SDK. I've already created an app for this, but this is the steps that you'll go through. So if I just click onto View here, it will take me to my app credentials. So you'll see the same screen, you'll just fill out some information, and then it'll take you to here. So you want to copy your app key, and you want to pass that into the first parameter. And you want to do the same for your app secret, put that in your second parameter. You want to make sure you copy these correctly as well. If these are wrong, then the app just will not work going forward. There's probably a lot better way of securely storing these as well, but just for the sample of this application, which is going to pass them as a parameter, but you probably want to do this more securely. So once you've added that, we're just going to create our join meeting command. And this is just going to call a function called join meeting. So we just want to go ahead and generate that as well. So we're just going to create some logic inside of here. So when the user clicks the join meeting button, it's going to check if the SDK has been initialized properly. If not, it's just going to return out of the function and not try and do any of the logic. So we're just going to create an if statement, And inside the if statement, we are going to call the Zoom service dot is initialized. We're just going to set that to false. So inside, we're just going to return out. So if it has been initialized and it's been successful, we want to join the meeting. So we're going to call the Zoom service.join meeting. And we're going to pass in the meeting ID, which will be entered from the entry box. And then we're going to pass through a display name, but just for this sample, we're just going to call it Zoom sample. So now that all the interface top level functions and logic's been created, we're going to go into the actual Android platform and create all our logic. So we're just going to create a platform folder. And then we want to create our platform specific Zoom service. So we're just going to create an empty class called Zoom service. And then we're just going to create this dependency tag at the top. So we need to declare some inheritance now for this class. So java.lang.object RI Zoom service interface, and then finally this one. So you should be able to right click and generate the interfaces. And that gives us the code for the functions that we need to fill out. So the first thing I'm going to do here is just declare the Zoom SDK object. And we're just going to create an instance. Underneath that, we're just going to create some parameters that we're going to pass in. So this is a Zoom init params, and it's just an object of a new Zoom SDK parameters. And then we're just going to call the Zoom SDK initialize, and we're going to pass through our Zoom init params. So hopefully this should register our app key and app secret and initialize correctly. and then we just want to create a new meeting service. So after we create the meeting service, we are going to call a function called join meeting with params. So the first parameter that's going to take is the application context. And then the second parameter is going to be of an object, join meeting params. So this object, we're just going to pass through the meeting ID and the display name that we have passed through the function. You can also pass through a password parameter, but we haven't set our join meeting function up to accept that parameter yet. So we're just going to leave that for now, and the SDK will handle that when it tries to join a meeting. And we can just leave these functions blank at the moment and just remove the throw exceptions so it doesn't crash the application. So finally, just in the code behind the main page, we just need to set the binding context to the main page view model that we created earlier. So that should have been the final step to get the Android platform working. So we just go ahead and give the project a run and see if everything's working. So once the project's built, you should see the following screen. And then you want to put in your meeting ID. I'm just using a personal meeting ID on Zoom at the moment. So once you put that in, you want to click the join meeting button. So if you put the meeting ID in correctly, the SDK should fire off and start doing its thing. You should be prompted by the preparing meeting. It'll then pop up a display box asking you for your password. So just enter the password and press OK. So if everything was successful, you should now have entered your Zoom lobby. So you can just see the video feed here. This is just set up from the host account I've got set up on Zoom. So it's not really the best quality on the emulator, but you kind of get the picture. So if you swipe right, then it takes you to the tap to speak mode. So we can't do this on the emulator, but if you've got a real device, if you push down the button, then it enables you to speak in the lobby. If you then swipe all the way left to the end, you can see all the participants in the call. And then if you tap to the screen, it gives you some options at the bottom. So for example, you can start your video, you can share some documents from your phone, you can do some more options with the participants. So the emulator is quite slow at the moment for me, but yeah, if you have a real device, you can have a go through all this and check all out the different options and features. So if you want to leave the meeting, just press the button on the top right, and then this will just give you a little display pop up to confirm leaving the meeting, and it will return you back into your Xamarin Forms app. So I hope the tutorial has been useful. If you want to check out part 2, we'll be looking at implementing the Zoom SDK for iOS platform specific. So at the end of both parts, we should be able to join a Zoom meeting in our single Xamarin Forms app, no matter if it's an Android or an iOS device. If you get stuck at any part, if you want to leave a comment on the video, I'll try and help you out as best I can. I'll also be uploading this project to Git so you can download it. And if you could like and subscribe, I'd greatly appreciate it.